Okay, so today's lesson was addition and subtraction rules. And this all has to do with our patterns chapter still. So we're still thinking about how do numbers work together, how are they related to each other, and how do they change over time. So we have two new words in our lesson today, input and output. I also call this the plug and chug lesson because you're plugging in a number into an equation and you're seeing what comes out. And that's where input and output come into play. So input is the amount you plug into the equation. Output is the result of the equation after putting in the input. So if I were to put in an input, an amount in A, and I add 3 to it, I will result with a new output. Okay, based on what I put in, it will change what I put out. So using this equation and looking at our table, I can see if my input is 8, and I plug 8 into where A is, so I would have 8 plus 3 equals question mark. Okay, well I know 8 plus 3 is 11. So my output would be 11. What if I had 12 as my input? I would plug in 12 for A, because A is my input. 12 plus 3, that equals 15. So 15 would be my output. Now I have 2 that I need to solve here on my own. So if I keep this up, 16 is my input, plug it into the equation, plug and chug. What is the output of 16 plus 3? Well, that's 19. And then if I try this again with 20, put 20 in for 3, or put 20 in for A, I'm sorry. What comes out as B, 20 plus 3, is 23. So I would put 23 in my table, and then I would have my 2 answers put in for my output. Okay, what if I'm looking at a table and I have to figure out an equation? Okay, so if I only have the table and I need to figure out an equation. So let's look at a new example, and let's look at a horizontal example. That means the table is going to look like this. It's doing the same thing, means the same thing, just looks a little bit different. So again, I'm going to have my input and my output. Input, let's make it C, and output, let's make it D. Let's get some sections going here. Okay, so my input is going to look like this, and my output is going to look like this. Okay, so looking at my equation, I know C, something happens to it, and it equals D. So I'm looking from C to D, from input to output. If I put in 7 and it comes out as 9, what happened to 7? Well, it looks like it added 2, so I'm going to write that up here, okay, plus 2. Let's see if it happened with the next one. 10, if I plug in 10 for C, what do I have to do to get it to 12? Well, again, I am adding 2. And if I look at the next one as another example, 13 to get to 15, I also have to add 2. So I can see that what I do to C is I add 2. So this is my equation. Now I use my equation to solve for the rest of the outputs. So I would say, what is 16 plus 2? That's 18. And then what is 19 plus 2? And that's 21. Okay, so I completed my table. I used my equation to help solve for the rest of the outputs, and I followed my pattern of plus 2. So this is our lesson for addition and subtraction rules. plug and chug away.